for it to go live on. Oh, wow. We're live on YouTube right now.
Okay. How about it?
Yeah, I mean, it says it's setting it up still, but it also says live. Well, I have to. Wow, we're live on YouTube right now. There, I muted it again, so this should be fine now. And I'm posting the link so that everyone knows where we're at. And so let's see. So I think we're ready to go. And I will say, Nick, that I checked the sound, so I don't think that the music will be as loud as last week. But are you ready for episode number 2?
I'm ready for this improvement. I'm ready for it all.
Here we go. And welcome to episode number 2 of Funny as Part of My Name. So I will say that, Nick, did you know it's President's Day?
I did know that. I do know that.
So I am going to test your presidential knowledge here with a few presidential fun facts.
All right, this can't possibly go as poorly as last week's math questions.
Well, I mean, all I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you like who you think each of my clues is about. So
you're going to give me clues and I try to guess which American president you're hinting?
Yes.
Okay.
So this president was shot early in his presidency and died 11 weeks later. Doctors used a new tool from Alexander Graham Bell to try to find the bullet lodged in his body, a sort of metal detector, but the bed spring interfered with the result and doctors kept cutting in the wrong area. Who was this president, Nick?
Okay. So I know the rough time frame. So this was an assassinated. Wait. Did you say that this president died from the wound or did not die?
He died 11 weeks later after he was shot early in his presidency.
All right, early in the presidency, so it's not Lincoln because he died close to the end. I mean, he was very far in to his presidency. Let's see, I feel McKinley. I don't think there was that delay. I don't think the time is right either for McKinley. Trying to think of other presidents who were assassinated. Obviously, Kennedy is way too late. I think James Garfield was assassinated. I can't think of anything better.
That would be correct.
That was okay. All right. That was
so
a little bit of guess. Right now. Okay. All right. I'm already doing better than last week.
So, all right. Here's the next one, Nick. This president had 2 raccoons named Reuben and Rebecca that wandered around the White House. Who was it?
Oh, goodness. I concede already. I have no semblance of an idea. I'm throwing in the towel. The white flag's up.
Well, hey, you don't want to make a guess? This is a pretty easy one.
An easy one? For who? Actually, before we continue, Well, yeah, because you're the one posing the questions. I hope you know what the answer is. Before we continue on here, is there any reward or prize if I perform to a certain level tonight, like there was last week, which I
Well,
obviously failed?
there's, well, let's see, I have 12 12 trivia questions here. So if you get 50% or more, I'll correct, I'll buy you a hot and ready pizza. So
How many do I have to get correct for the hot and ready?
six.
All right, 50%, and I get it hot and ready. Do
Yeah.
I get to choose? Oh no, if it's hot and ready, then I'm pretty much at the mercy of what's available at that time. Okay.
That's okay. But
All right, that's fair. That's fair. All right.
well,
I am just gonna throw out one here. If this is right, then I will consider tonight a complete victory. I'll go Andrew Jackson,
oh, so close. Calvin Coolidge.
Calvin Coolidge. You could have given me, what are we on, president number 46 right now?
Yes, I mean there's
You
a
could have given me
limited pool
46
to guess
guesses, and
from. And I'm not going to trick you and like use a president more than once. I mean,
oh, okay, all right. So I should
I
be
could,
checking
but I'm
off the
not going
list
to.
here. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that,
So
that
you're 1 for 1,
kindness.
Nick. So the next one is this president was known for being such a staunch military general that was he was killed by contaminated cherries with bacteria that caused his death by cholera 5 days after he ate the contaminated cherries. Or cholera, sorry.
Okay.
I don't have a teleprompter here, so I'm going off the what the seat of my pants, I guess,
What?
is the phrase.
So I have to. I don't know. Your clue didn't exactly decipher if this individual died while in office.
That is true.
Now, part of me wants to think that the only reason this clue is what it is because this individual did die while in office, but I feel this has to be a president from rather early on. So probably in the first hundred years of the U.S. being an official nation, an independent nation. Trying to think who else may have died in office during that time. I know there was one president, at least one, who died in office not due to assassination. Trying to remember who that is and cross reference if that's a possibility for this. All right, so Calvin Coolidge and James Garfield are already off the table.
They're off the list.
Okay, it's definitely not. So going through again other presidents who died while in office, it's definitely not Kennedy. He was assassinated. Definitely not Lincoln, also assassinated. Definitely not McKinley, assassinated.
Well,
I don't think I'm just gonna say one here. I don't think it's right because I'm almost positive that he did not die in office by any means. But I'm gonna say James Polk.
oh, so close. It was Zachary Taylor.
Zachary Taylor. Now, did he die while in office?
Well, let's see. Let me double check this. Yes,
Did
he
die while in office. Okay.
actually died on July 9th, 1850, after only 16 months in office.
Okay.
So that's pretty interesting, wouldn't you say, Nick?
Well, I don't know if it's interesting or not, but
So you are 1 for 4 so far.
no, 1 for 3, man. Come on.
Well, Okay, well, that's true. Okay, 1 for 3.
Oh,
All
okay,
right.
you're playing around with the.
So
Oh,
here's the next one,
that's
Nick.
so fake news, man.
This president was fixated with helicopters and he replaced the Oval Office seat with a vinyl helicopter seat.
Oh boy. Okay. So the big clue here is when helicopters became mainstream enough that a president would have a rooted interest, probably because he would have ridden in them enough. Okay. So rotocraft, as they're called in the biz. So war-wise, would not have been around in World War II. We're definitely around during Vietnam. Would not have been around during Korea. So helicopters. All right. So thinking here, this would have been mainstream enough that they would have gone into service or use, or at least wide enough use. I guess late 50s to early 60s, because Vietnam would have been late 60s start, and they were obviously using helicopters pretty heavily during Vietnam. So it's got to be a president again from the late 50s or later. I feel like it's going to be one that has some level of military and significant military involvement. I'm gonna say Lyndon Johnson.
Oh, that was right. So
That was right. That
so two
okay.
for two now. So
Well, no, not two for
here,
two. 2 and 2 or 2 for 4.
well,
Come on, John. Don't mince the words here, all right? The audience is
close
gonna
enough.
pick up on your game
Because I
playing.
don't think that. Well, I'm not even sure that we'll have time for you to get to 6 correct at this low rate
Oh,
of
come
time.
on.
But here's another one, Nick. This president installed a bowling alley at the White House.
Oh, I should know this.
Yeah. So, hey, what's better than bowling on President's Day, right, Nick?
Not much.
Especially when
I wish I had gone
they,
bowling today.
yeah, especially when the president doesn't even have to leave the White House. It would be right there for him.
That's pretty solid. I can't be president, but if I could, that would be a solid perk to the job.
Oh yeah.
President who had a bowling alley installed in the White House.
Now you have to think about like when did bowling alleys become popular in the United States,
I
Nick?
feel like that's probably something that happened like during the Great Depression for some reason. Oh, let's see. Wouldn't have been Franklin Roosevelt, because I think he was already pretty immobilized by the time he took office. That he wasn't completely immobilized in his lower extremities. So I doubt that would have been. Oh boy, no. Oh.
Yeah, you're getting close.
You know,
It is somebody for like Great Depression or later. Yeah, so you're on the right track.
okay. Oh god, I'm really fuzzy about who was in the office between like between the two world wars. I obviously Roosevelt was in there during World War II.
Oh boy.
I think this is too late, but for the sake of time here and my mind not being able to recollect enough, I'm going to say Truman.
Oh, so close. Richard Nixon.
Oh, okay. Later than I thought.
Yeah,
That's much later than I thought.
I mean, Lyndon
Okay.
Johnson was the 36th president and Richard Nixon was the 37th. So about the same period. I tried to give you a freebie by giving you two around the same time period, Nick, and it didn't work.
Well, I don't know if that's really
Right.
a help or
So
not.
here's another one, Nick.
All right.
This president was, during his term in office, arrested for running over a woman with his horse. The charges were later dropped due to a lack of evidence. The horse pleaded the fifth.
All right, so this is early on. I feel like, again, first 100 years of post Declaration of Independence. I feel like this is a Hamilton kind of thing. I'm gonna well, it's either Hamilton. I think it's a Hamilton or a Jefferson kind of thing. They both seem like those kinds of the individuals. I'm gonna go Jefferson on this one.
Oh, so close, Nick. Franklin Pierce.
Pierce. Okay. All right.
Yeah, nice guy. All right.
I guess
so,
unless he's on horseback.
Well, I mean, you know, some other things about Franklin Pierce are that he was an Episcopalian and he graduated from Bowdoin College.
Bowdoin College. Okay. All right.
And at the
Maine?
time he was president, the presidential salary was $25,000 per year. Actually, so Nick, if you get this bonus question,
bonus.
right,
Now, what does bonus mean?
I will give you the hot and ready pizza's an instant win here, Nick.
Okay, all right, I like this.
So, all right.
Wait, is there any penalty if I get this wrong?
Oh, no penalty if you get wrong.
Okay, it's purely bonus.
This is an instant win situation, Nick.
Okay, I like these.
So, let's see. So, who was Franklin Pierce's opponent in the presidential election, and how many popular votes did his opponent get?
How many? So not a percentage. How many? Oh, jeez. Pierce's opponent.
Well, okay, I'll give you. You know what? If you can think of Pierce's opponent, I'll give you the instant win.
You want to give me the year or something like that?
1852.
1852. This is a little prior to Lincoln, but I feel like Lincoln would not have lost and then come back for a win.
Well, it's I feel like this is one that you would know, Nick.
What? Is there some correlation?
Oh, I mean, it's let's see. So,
what is this, like the only ever Asian presidential candidate in the history of the country?
Oh, the guy's name was Winfield Scott.
Winfield Scott. Why should I have known that?
Well, I just his last name was Scott. It seems like you probably know somebody named Scott. It seemed like a great fit, Nick. But
I think you're really trying to massage this into a correlation, and there isn't one.
And that's okay, Nick, because it is time for our first commercial break.
All right, no pizza. All right.
Unfortunately, you did not make it to 6.
That's okay.
Correct presidential guesses, but that's okay. So
we'll try next year.
Let's go to the break here, and then when we come back, we will talk about, let's see, some math in the news.
Okay.
So here is our first. I don't actually think that was the right video. I have
Awfully
no
quick,
idea
John.
what's going on here.
Why so fast?
Well, I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on here. This is just
okay. All right, here it is. All right.
So all I can say, Nick, is that people should visit www.
John, the music's still way too loud, and they can't hear anything you're saying.
About that, I turned it down. I can turn it up.
No, John. the way you had it when you started speaking right now was still too loud. You couldn't hear anything you were saying.
Well, I mean, I could hear it, but
Yeah,
that's
that's
okay.
because you're in the room with yourself.
The struggle is real, Nick.
It's real for me. It's real for everybody else except
Well,
you. So are you catering to yourself or the
I
audience?
mean, people really like the music. I thought, but
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that like if you're trying to speak while it's playing, then it's not
well,
copacetic.
all right, Nick. So, let's get to the news
All
now.
right, let's do it.
All right. So, I'm going to read you sort of what I thought are two conflicting headlines that I saw on the news this week. So, the first one is from what's the name of it? The Community Impact newspaper. And this is an article coming out of, where is it? The Dallas Fort Worth area. So there is a new private school opening up in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And the headline from the Community Impact newspaper said, "New McKinney private school won't require algebra or calculus." So then, of course, the new founder of the private school actually put out a statement, and the statement said that math, science, and literature will be mandatory, but Manjari said the school will likely not require pupils to learn about subject matters they do not see use for. He said higher math falls into the category of potentially not being useful for some students. That's not the life skills I'm talking about. I'm talking about the life skills you and I use in our daily lives. So, what do you think about this new school opening up in Dallas, Nick, and the whole notion of schools just being places that teach kids a lot of subjects that they'll never use as adults?
The part about now this is two separate articles. You read from one
Nope,
and
this is all the same article.
all from one. Okay, so there is definitely some intra conflict within the article that I picked up just from the excerpts that you read. One thing that seemed a little interesting to hear is that the school's not interested in algebra or calculus, but does that imply that other other subjects in math are going to be offered? So trigonometry, geometry. I mean, I feel algebra is a foundation kind of for all of those. I mean, calculus is sort of the climax that I suppose most high school students would theoretically reach by graduation. So I suppose not offering calculus is you're just chopping off the end, but like not offering algebra, I feel you're cutting off the beginning. But to I mean, I don't know who is in charge of determining what is considered useful subject matter for the students. I think that a lot of being in school before your higher level education is to get a good versatile foundation of subject matter. So I mean, not that you're going to use it every day in life as an adult, depending on what your profession is, but I think it makes people more diverse, more versatile, and have a wider range of baseline knowledge across many subjects, many areas. So simply the ability to hold a conversation with people of different backgrounds and interests, as opposed to only being able to speak on a very narrow set of subjects. So
But what
it
would you say to the critic, Nick, who would say that, well, calculus, it takes away time from teaching basic life skills like financial literacy or critical thinking or meal preparation or car maintenance or emotional intelligence in school. Like, don't you think that like those might be just as important things in adult life, or do you think there's some other solution to the issue of like the students learning these skills without taking calculus out of the schools or taking algebra out of the schools?
well, again, I don't think you can take algebra out because that's such a preliminary level math course in high school. And I think most students are probably taking that in their freshman or sophomore year. So I feel like leaving that absent, you're truncating a foundation for mathematical studies. But the other part of your question, would I be okay with sacrificing the offering of calculus for some of those other, I guess, life skill subjects, as you called them? Yes, I think financial management or critical thinking, some of those other kind of more everyday life skills that not everybody has. They're not for granted, and it's not just common knowledge for society universally. Yeah, for me, I think having calculus be a casualty for being able to offer those, I'm personally okay with that. I mean, it'd be great if you could include it all, but there's always limitations and resource limits with anything in the world.
Well, Nick, I like to say that everyone in the world would agree with you, but unfortunately, that's not the case. The other article in the news that I found this week was from nationalinterest.org. And the title of this article was Why Defending America's National Security Requires Calculus and Critical Thinking. So, this article, I'll tell you, Nick, argues that, of course, that Americans need calculus because it's needed is part of the defensive mechanism of to defend America's national security. But I will also read you a couple of excerpts from this. It says, while politicians and big tech descend the slippery slope of censoring news and opinion, often inconsistently so, there's little attention to how to enable Americans to read more critically. Relying on government or corporate censorship automatically erodes liberty. And then the author goes on to talk about the history of how calculus became the top class that like students in high school would take. But here is the other quote from the article I would like you to respond to, Nick. Some teachers may scoff at the national security implications of education. Happily, the pedagogical arguments also point to the same conclusion. It is time to privilege statistics over calculus. Almost every career incorporates statistics. Few beyond engineers and scientists utilize calculus. So, how would you respond to this statement in this article, Nick?
I think I largely agree with it in that what I feel and what I've experienced, having a good foundation in statistics is more widely not necessary, but advantageous than having a foundation in calculus. I I think it's great if people can take calculus and have an understanding of what calculus is and what it represents, but in thinking of how these mathematical skills translate to different professions, I think statistics is a more common tool that people will want to have a foundation or be benefited by having a foundation. It's not to marginalize the importance of calculus, because there are a lot of professions and aspects of life and aspects of the world that using calculus is either required or very beneficial. But from my own perspective, I think if it's one or the other, statistics is probably the more valuable area of math for a larger portion of society.
So the thing is, Nick, is I don't really I don't think that this really necessarily I guess, and this goes back to my question earlier of like what would be the alternative to still getting the students who need calculus or algebra the information if it wasn't taught in the schools. And so this article also says, and I'm reading this quote because I want to see what you think about this as a feasible solution. It says, rather than superficially teach all fields, it may be appropriate to focus on statistics in high school and then defer calculus to college when its consumers would be better prepared to handle it anyway. So, what do you think is of that as a good solution or maybe compromise to what the other article said about teaching the life skills early on, and then maybe if the student does need calculus, then they can take it in college.
So you word that in a very interesting way. You use the word needs calculus, and I think that's kind of a little bit of a game changer in the conversation here. It's to imply that not everyone will be genuinely benefited by having some knowledge in the field of calculus. To get back to the original question, I largely think that is a viable plan of attack. I went to school for my higher level education in a very quantitative field, and there were students, classmates of mine, who had not taken calculus during their high school years and took it for the first time freshman year, first semester, once arriving in college, and were able to get through the rest of our curriculum just fine. Now, obviously, it becomes far more optional if you leave it to college or some level of post-secondary education to begin taking calculus. You're going to have more people that are going to, I don't want to say opt out, but elect against it, because college, your curriculum is a lot more voluntary and selective than high school curriculums tend to be. So the percentage of people who ultimately end up taking some coursework in calculus would probably ultimately be less if calculus just wasn't offered in high school. But again, if you approach it with the notion that calculus is not needed by everybody, then I think if you put together a well thought out plan, that it can absolutely work to save calculus for college and beyond.
Well, yeah. So now let's change gears for a little bit for the last part of this segment about math here, and where was it? Because I had this interesting problem that I actually was going to.
Oh, John, don't give me a calculus problem. I haven't taken calculus in
Well, no, I
like
was just going
15
to read
years.
you. I was actually going to ask you about uh, one of these problems that was on Popular Mechanics list of the 10 hardest math problems that remain unsolved.
Okay.
It says
I hope I'm not.
the
I hope
headline
I'm not
is,
expected to solve it here on air.
well, I mean, if you do, I'll buy you hot and ready pizzas for
You
life.
better get me at least that.
So the subtitle is "The Smartest People in the World Can't Crack Them. Maybe you'll have better luck." So, like, maybe Nick, like right in the next like 2 to 3 minutes, you might be able to actually, uh, solve one of these problems. So, who knows, right? There actually are. Well, you know what? Maybe some of these are a little bit difficult, but I'll ask you if you
That's
have
probably
heard
because
of.
they're
I,
unsolved.
I'll ask you if you've heard of this one, Nick. So
Right.
if you can at least give the the name of the person this is named after, I'll buy you crazy bread the next time I see you. Okay,
Oh,
so
all right. That's a good
every
compromise, I
even
suppose.
number greater than 2 is the sum of 2 primes. So do you know who that statement is actually? Who made that statement there, Nick?
If you had asked me this 20 years ago or 18 years ago, I probably would have known the answer.
Well,
It has since left me, so I have to concede here.
it's the Goldbach conjecture.
Yeah, I don't even know if I would have known
All
that
right,
back in
Nick.
high school.
So
I'm sorry.
I have
No
bad
crazy bread.
news for you that it means it's time for another
Okay.
commercial break.
Get
So
the volume right, man. Come
in
on.
our last segment,
I'm
we
holding
will.
you to a higher standard.
Yes, but in our last segment, Nick, we're going to come back, and as usual, we will talk about the current events and news from Korea this week.
Okay.
So let's go to the break, and I'll try to make the music a little bit less loud this time. All right,
All
here
right.
I don't know if that's any better than me.
It's a little bit better, but
yeah, let's see. So everyone should visit www.johnoaks.com, and there's no free punch skis over there, unfortunately. So let's see, Nick.
that was a little better, John. But the volume of the music you could still drop it a little bit.
Well, that's okay, but
well, not if you want people to hear your website or that they're not getting any free punch key.
I mean, hey, like all I said is that you can't get punch keys on the website, but I mean that doesn't.
Yeah,
mean...
but people might not have been able to hear that correctly, so they go to your website expecting free punch key, and then when they don't get it, they're all upset.
Well, but they won't be upset when they realize that they can get a giant coffee mug for a very fair price that says Mike is a troll on it, and
well, I think you're assuming everyone's a coffee drinker here.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of other nice things for sale at the store. So
yeah, I'm sure you've got great merch. I don't doubt that.
In the upcoming week, we will debut the new podcast mugs, and so
do I get one? Do I get one comp?
Well, no, like I even have to pay for my own. So but well, I'll say that if you get let's see, if you win next week's contest, then I'll give you a complimentary mug.
I'd rather have the pizza.
Well, I mean, you can do a lot more with the mug than the pizza.
I mean, in the sense that the mug is useful for more than one occasion, sure. The pizza, once it's been eaten, it's gone.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, like,
I'm not gonna recycle it once it comes out.
Well, no, like I'm not even saying that, but like it's like everything like goes somewhere, and so like the pizza would turn
Oh,
into
oh,
energy, and
come
then the
on, John.
energy goes into the air, right? That's how biology and
Yeah,
chemistry and physics work. So,
I still would rather have the pizza.
all right,
That's just me.
so
You can take it how you want.
let's start with the news, Nick.
All right.
So let's start with this headline here. And I know that you've seen this one before, but
Do you know that?
it's the one about the NBA's South Korean hope. So the this article appeared on Ozzy this week, and it says Jung Lee says getting into the NBA won't be a slam dunk, but it might be a three-pointer since that's what the South Korean is known for. Working to perfect a Steph Curry style step back jumper. Lee's a product of the NBA's Global Academy, not to mention a dad who coaches high school hoops and a mom who won an Olympic silver in basketball. So, what do you think about this story about the Korean here and the possibility of him going into the NBA, Nick?
I hope he does. I hope he can find his way there and that the right recruitment channels are exposed to him or vice versa. He's exposed to the right recruitment channels. I think it's great representation for his home nation and for the many basketball fans around the world of Korean or Asian background. Ultimately, he has to be good enough to do it. I don't follow him enough to know if his proficiency level, other than 3-point shots, I don't know if that's like if the article is based on his 3-point shooting in practice with no defense, or if it's from game tape or what. But I mean, obviously there needs to be more to your game than just avid 3-point shooting proficiency to make it to the league. But ultimately I think it's great if he can, and if he is in fact good enough to play in the NBA as a professional, then I really hope that he gets that opportunity.
So, Nick, so I'm going to ask you a trivia question again. So,
Oh boy, this
who,
could be bad.
who has been the only South Korean to ever play in the NBA?
Only South Korean to ever play in the NBA. Oh, I have no idea here. I can think of a handful of Asian players, but none of them are Korean. So I forfeit, John. You can.
I think that he might be a little disappointed in you because his name is Ha Seung-jun. So he has the same name as you, Nick. Ha
That's all right. Yeah,
Seung-jun.
that's all right. He can send
So
me some hate mail or something.
so he played for Portland from 2004 to 2006.
Okay.
So there you go, Nick. So it's possible that you can, after you get his hate mail, that you can maybe like uh, take him out to dinner and
Uh,
to make up for
Certainly.
these comments here. So
Absolutely. I'll if he's
so
listening and he wants to go out to eat, I will more than happily treat him to a dinner of his choice, which will be better than a hot and ready pizza. But if that's what he wants, then we can do that too.
all right. So let's move on to our next story, Nick. So are you a superhero fan, Nick?
Not an extensive one.
So here's one from it's called koreaboo.com. So this came across my news
That
desk
sounds a little
this week.
provocative, John.
Well,
Koreaboo.com.
Well, no, it's
Just
not
saying.
provocative, but
Okay,
it's
all right,
just,
I trust you.
it came across my news feed this week, and
Okay.
it says Marvel Comics introduces new South Korean superhero.
Yes, I did see this. I forget the
Oh.
name of the character, but yes, I'm aware of this character.
So it said that Marvel Comics has introduced a new Korean superhero. On February 5th, Marvel Comics writer Judd McKay retweeted a tweet from Previews World regarding the upcoming Taskmaster comic. Taskmaster is a villain who will be up against the famous Avenger Black Widow. So, what do you think about this news from Marvel Comics, Nick?
First and foremost, let me clarify with you this new upcoming Korean character is a villain.
Let's see. So, it
Did I hear? I just want to make sure I heard correctly.
Well, let me see. So I actually, no. It's actually the uh, Taskmaster Master will go against Taguchi, a superhero from South Korea's National Superhuman Espionage Agency. So I I will say that the there's been controversy just because of the superhero's name and costume being Taguchi, since his costume is really just like the Korean flag, and his name is the word for the South Korean flag. So there've been some people who have criticized the character already for being like for the fact that it wasn't very creative of a name and costume, and others who have said it's great because it's really the similar to Captain America. So, what are your thoughts, Nick?
I think it's probably the creators are probably hitting on a happy median of having enough originality but enough awareness for the non Korean or non East Asian fanship that might not be able to differentiate or decipher that the character is Korean background. I it's not John. There's an echo. I don't know if it's coming from your side or.
I don't hear any echo.
Okay. Well, anyways, it, I think it's not the perfect situation or solution with the character, with the name and the attire, essentially, as you said, being a Korean flag. But I think the creators probably did that to ensure that the fans and the audience are aware the character is of Korean background. I think if it was something not so indicative of it might go unnoticed that this individual is Korean specifically. It might just be viewed as an East Asian character, which, you know, as we know that all the East Asian countries are very unique in themselves. So I think it was kind of an indicator of that, which.
So, Nick, let me ask you this: did you know that this wasn't Marvel's first Korean superhero?
I did not know that, but you're asking the wrong person because I'm not a
there are
super fan.
others include Korean American Amadeus Cho, Sol Hee, Dan B, Chance, and Korean American Cindy Moon and Ami Han. So there's been several other Korean superheroes in the Marvel universe there. So Nick, I think that uh, for what it's worth, I will just say that I'm personally okay with what's going on because I think that ultimately their goal is to get this Korean superhero to be more noticed than some of the previous Korean superheroes.
Yeah, I largely feel the same. I mean, the Marvel audience is not just Koreans, it's not just Asians or East Asians. It's a worldwide following, and I think if you're going to appeal, in this case, with a very international group of fans,
So
you had to do something to ensure that the identification of this individual was made clear.
do you know which Koreans do have international recognition, Nick? It's BTS. And
I do know that.
And this made the news this week on MTV. BTS will bring their dynamite energy to MTV Unplugged. And so this special will air on, let's see, Tuesday, February 23rd at 9 p.m. Eastern. So what are your thoughts about this, Nick? Like, are you a BTS fan, or do you think you'll at least give it a listen?
I mean, am I a fan? A little bit. It's, I guess pop music of any type is not really my biggest draw. I mean, honestly, if I'm being totally upfront, am I gonna listen to it? Probably not. But that's because I'm just largely not a watcher of things that are sponsored or produced by MTV, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not a particular interest of mine.
Well, I mean, that's okay. I mean, I feel like I probably will watch, because I think it will be a dynamite of a great time. But you know what, Nick, I'll let you have the last joke here to conclude the show for tonight. So let's go to a break, and while you are thinking about the joke to end the show with, we'll have our last commercial, and people can hear you talk about how loud the music is again. So let's. I have no idea what just happened, but I don't think that the music was playing, because it
It was not.
Well, you know what, Nick? That's okay.
It's okay, John. You're a math professor. You're not
So, Nick,
not a
give us
audiovisual professional.
our final joke.
Final joke, because all the jokes have, as usual, been on me tonight, which is fine. Someone has to be the victim of it all. That can be me. All right, final joke of the night. A guy gives his girlfriend $100. Eventually, over time, things end between them, and she gives him $100 back. What was his reason why they broke up?
Well, I mean, is this a rhetorical question, or if I had
A little bit.
if I had to guess, it probably that the the guy, like, she probably dating the guy who was on the dollar bill.
No, that's not even close, John.
Well, that's okay.
Do you want another guess, or do you want me to just tell you?
Well, that's all I have for you.
All right. Well, they broke up because he lost interest in the relationship.
See, I was pretty close.
If
All right.
you say so.
So that's all we have for this week, everyone. So we'll see you next week, and thank you, and have a